It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
You know, somebody asked the last couple of days at the intro of the sit down, why do I have the year 2000 on it? And I've actually never explained that. Not intended for little Easter eggs, but the year 2000 was the first year that I started putting my hotline reports, daily hotline reports for the world of pro wrestling, and putting it on the internet. You know, so when you hear about, who is the earliest podcaster, people, no BS. You could go to Wayback Machine, go to wrestling-news.com or wrestleguide.com, which is a domain that I owned way back in the day. Go back to the year 2000. My hotline reports were done online. And a lot of people feel that if I really wanted to challenge it, I might have made a little bit of history. I mean, longest running wrestling show, absolutely. But overall in the entire universe, one of the first, I don't know when to quit. So there's a little tidbit. By the way, I forget what her name was, but she wrote this on one of the comments from last week's show, and I wanted to answer it here. Everybody's been seeing me wear the same shirt, with the Italian shirt, Giffa, Materazzi, whatever. And she says, why do you wear the same shirt every day? Now, honestly, they're all in the washing machine right now, but I have 3 of them. And no, I would, put it this way, even if I did wear one shirt, the same shirt each show, I would wash it. Or I would wear it just for the duration of the show. Take it off, put a dry sheet on it. But no, I have 3 of the same shirt, but they're all in the wash. So I decided to wear the shirt that started it all. Pork rub. How's everybody doing? It is Sunday night. I almost said August 18th. I'd be like, shit, I'm going to Florida soon. Yeah. From September 1st to September 9th, I will be in Florida. So what I will do is I will definitely plan, I'll ask Kev to do a special DTKC show probably the day before. That should hold everybody over for a few days. I'll do another recorded show, and who knows, maybe I'll live stream from Florida. So it's going to be our 1-year anniversary of being married. I don't want to fly, but it's our 1-year anniversary. So, I figure, okay, I won't have to go again until it's our 5 or 10-year anniversary. So happy Father's Day to everybody out there. And for anyone out there whose fathers are up above, my thoughts are with you. And I don't just say this, I really mean it. And I'll give you an example. I always say, if you really got along with your dad and you loved your dad and you missed your dad, the best way that you can honor your dad is live your life in ways that he taught you, how he brought you up, things that he would do, live your life, him through you. And believe me when I tell you, that's the best tribute that you could possibly do. And no BS. And I've said this many times before. My wife even sees it now. Sometimes when I'm around my relatives and I'll act a certain way, say something, do a gesture, someone will say to me, that's your grandmother, like talking about me. Even my dad, the way I act sometimes, that's your dad talking. So, keep their legacy alive. And, my thoughts are with everybody out there. So I hope everybody's had a nice weekend. We are on the cups of Monday Night Raw, and we should get the final spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I know Bayley versus Shotzi is supposed to happen Friday. We've talked about that on yesterday's show. If you want to go check it out, interesting scenario that may go down, even though Bailey may not end up being in the Money in the Bank ladder match. She will be in a Money in the Bank ladder match, if you know what I mean. So Sunday is the sit down. And for those that are new to the show, very simple. I have nothing prepared. Yes, I see a super chat came in, and I mentioned on Twitter this morning that I was going to bring it up. So this was a topic that we had to bring up a little bit. But what the sit down is, 99% of the time, is if you're live, you get the opportunity to pick the topics that we talk about. You got to just have to be in the chat room. It's free. So all you got to do is, if you're in the chat room, if you have a question, just write in capital letters the word question before it so I could spot it. If you have a comment that you want me to share with the world, just write comment before your comment. Anybody that super chats, always appreciated. Helps pay the bills, believe it when I tell you, more than you know. And it helps us upgrade from time to time. That'll always get VIP treatment. And that's why sometimes some of you, I notice, send super chats before the shows even start so we could get into topics. So before I hit the chat room and we start doing a whole bunch of topics. Oh, and by the way, the last Sunday of every month, we do a non-wrestling theme. You know, yeah, if something major is going on in wrestling, we'll talk about it. But the last Sunday of every month, we pretty much open the floor to anything. You want to talk sports, politics, real life, personal, whatever, movies, I don't give a shit. Whatever you guys want to talk about, that's what I'm here for. I'm just, the voice box for everybody out there. So I see that we have 2 super chats that came in prior to the show. Chris Cutra, thank you, my friend, for the $9.99. Yeah, see, I can't say I get the WWE Network for a month. I wouldn't use it towards that anyway, but I got Peacock. So, it's I'll tell you Monday. We'll talk tomorrow about something funny about Peacock. But he says he enjoyed Collision, has not watched AEW in 8 months. A very simple and basic show that felt different from the Wednesday smorgasbord. That feels like a chore to watch. Excellent viewpoint. A lot of people want my thoughts of AEW Collision. Now, I don't praise things to get anybody's attention. I don't put things down to get anybody's attention. What I praise or what I criticize is based on how I feel. And when I did the preview on Thursday, just based on what was advertised for AEW Collision, I thought it felt more like a Rampage or a Dynamite. Other than CM Punk returning, nothing about it made me feel any different. When you see Raw and you see SmackDown, it's one whole roster, just divided across 2 shows because there's so many people. There's no different feeling all that much. Back in the 2000s, when Paul Heyman was the lead writer for SmackDown, oh yeah, it felt a hell of a lot different than Raw. But, the thing that we talk about is who is responsible for the creative part of this, and it all comes down to Tony Khan. It is a mindset. Of course, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are not going to have any creative input. Neither is Nakazawa or Cutler or anybody else, because it'd be like, Aubrey Edwards is going to pin CM Punk. They're not going to be part of it. But outside of that, you think these millionaires, these professional athletes, people who have millionaire lawyers and agents are suddenly going to, creatively, what's best for AEW? That they're going to be trusted, especially when you have to do storylines that lead into pay-per-views, that lead into future shows. Imagine if it's creative by committee, how quickly that goes off the rails. Chris brings up a beautiful point about Collision. Collision was a simple show to watch. It was a solid show. It was a fun show. it was simple to cover. They didn't try to shove 2 pounds of bologna in a 1 pound bag. We didn't have loads and loads of bullshit stuff in the back, loads and loads of just putting people together just for the sake of putting people together. It was a very simple show. And I agree with you, Chris. And that is what made it good yesterday. But, and this is why I put Chris's up there before Ronnie's. Ronnie with the 10 spot. Thank you, Ronnie. Ronnie says, I know you're going to bring it up anyway, but I'm asking you to get into it first tonight. What did you think about AEW Collision and the Marks calling the show epic, perfect, and the best show on TV? All right. I'm going to take the political high road on that because I did see a few of my podcasting friends use the term perfect. And my answer to that sincerely is everybody has a right to their opinion. Everybody has a right to view something. You might go to a restaurant, bite into a steak and say it's the most beautiful tasting steak you ever had. I might bite into it and I might spit it across the floor. This is garbage. You know, everybody, you know how many times, I'll give you an example. I'm not going to say the name of the place. I don't want to hurt their feelings, but customer took me out to lunch Wednesday. And I'm back on keto, so there was a lot of things I couldn't have. But one of the things I did have was a plate of broccoli rabe with gorgonzola, olive oil, and garlic. Loved it. And, you know, they had other things on the table. I tasted a little here and there, and the food was so good. I came home that night, and I said to my wife, I said, let's order. I almost said the name. Let's order for dinner. I said, the food was incredible. So we order it. We have it for dinner like 4 hours later, and I'm eating more broccoli rabe. Trust me, the next day I farted up a storm, and she thought the food was awful. She's like, don't ever order from there again. And I'm like, why? What was wrong with it? And she had shrimp scampi. She had pasta, this and that. I'm like, what's wrong with it? And she just didn't like it at all. So what I thought was great to you might not be so great. Okay, so now, what did I think? What did Don Tony think about AEW Collision? The good, the not so good, and problems that they need to address immediately. The good was CM Punk's return. CM Punk, some people feel, has aged quite a bit in the last year and a half. CM Punk has dropped a little bit of weight, but also put on some muscle. I wouldn't surprise me if CM Punk is on keto, and he might have that keto face, or carnivore, and he might have that carnivore face. I don't know if he's a veggie. I don't think he is. But, you know, trust me, anybody that's into carnivore or keto, you look at the face and sometimes you be like, that looks like a carnivore face. You do get a little bit of a shift in your face because of it. I didn't think he looked frail. I am concerned about CM Punk's wrestling future. You know, he is somewhat injury prone. And the thing is, what happens if CM Punk gets injured? What do you do? Who is going to be the focal point? The Roman Reigns, the Seth Rollins. Who is going to be the focal point? The Braun Breaker, the Carmelo Hayes for NXT. Who is going to be the leader? And they have no backup plan. And please don't tell me, Didima. I love Miro. For the whole time he's been out, we have been addressing and complaining. What the fuck are you doing, AEW? Why aren't you using this guy? Trust me, we are huge supporters of him here. But AEW has done nothing to make us feel that he could be the focal point of the company. So CM Punk yesterday was great. Taking shots at the Young Bucks and not really Hangman Page or Kenny Omega to an extent is very interesting. And I'm going to get into it more on Wednesday, but I will say this. I don't normally say you really need to tune into something, but Saturday's Don Tony show yesterday, the 17th of June, I went on a rant about CM Punk's ESPN interview. And he got into it, you know, how it all started with Hangman Page and everything else. And, that's where I came up with Cowboy Shithead, because I truly have my feelings about, Hangman Page and how he goes about his wrestling life, and I don't think he's a very strong individual. Strong as this, and yeah, he could beat the crap out of me, and he's an awesome wrestler in the ring. But yesterday's promo, I think, was designed not just to address what has happened before, but what continues to happen now. And remember, right after that ESPN interview came out, Matt Jackson went on Instagram and put up a picture of Hangman Page and said, not only is he a wonderful wrestler, he is a wonderful human being. Like they're 12 years old and you need this emotional reassurance that CM Punk just, pardon my French, fucked Hangman Page up the ass in the ESPN article. And they needed that reassurance to everyone that Hangman Page is a wonderful human being. That's the reassurance. And these are snowflakes. But the way CM Punk addressed the Young Bucks, counterfeit Bucks, and yeah, that's an old term. Look, you call them the Young Cucks. They'll be like, heard that 10 years ago. There's not many insults you could call people that they haven't heard before. But I will say this. They have a move named after Meltzer. You're starting to see that who within AEW is really contacting who in the media world. And this is what I'm going to bring up Wednesday, and this is a standpoint that I guarantee you nobody has talked about. And this is why I think CM Punk brought up the Young Bucks yesterday. Remember the ESPN article that as of right now, AEW has no plans to try to make money off of this. They're not trying to make money. Like Wembley, as of right now, it's probably going to be MJF and CM Punk or CM Punk and Jericho. But think about this. For the Young Bucks, this is not their company. So it's not about let's make the most money we possibly can. If Tony Khan was going to give him an incentive and an extra $1 or something like that, yeah, maybe you change your mind. But there's no incentive to really drive. And the only way I think the Young Bucks would be a part of something like that is if they were the superheroes of AEW, if they ended up on top. It's almost like little Hulk Hogan's, but with much more in-ring talent. That's how it is. But this is my point. This is what I'm going to talk about Wednesday a little bit. What you realize after 12 months, after the media scrum, after the legal lawyers were contacted and Tony Khan is trying to figure out, how do I avoid mass lawsuits? How do I handle these contracts? How do I handle this going forward? How do I address guys that there was no outside detectives trying to find out who bit who. It was about who sues who. That's what was going on. The Young Bucks didn't say nothing publicly over the last 12 months, but they did through the journalists. So the Young Bucks don't say a word, because if I'm CM Punk, I punch him in the fucking mouth if they keep talking. So they had the journalists talk for them. Colt Cabana, rumored, we all know, we've talked about the story 10,000 times. One of their best buddies through the journalists. The journalists put it out there. Hey, I'm just reporting rumors. So you think about all the shit that's been put out there to Miro, to Andrade, to Thunder Rosa, to CM Punk, to Dax Harwood, and you go on and on and on. For a lot of those guys and gals, hey, it's part of the wrestling business. You got to take the good with the bad. I'm not going to burn bridges. I'm not going to, punch someone out. I'm going to worry about what's best for me in the future. And that's why people are very professional about it. That's why people take the high road. Take note that none of those people are going to journalists online to talk their dirty laundry for them. Do you feel that when Thunder Rosa says something, she's on Busted Open saying it out of her own mouth? When CM Punk has something to say, he says it out of his own mouth. When Dax Harwood has something to say, he says it out of his own mouth. When Miro or Andrade have something to say, they say it out of their mouth. When a lot of these snowflakes in AEW have something to say, it gets written by the dirt sheets. And that's why I think CM Punk said what he said yesterday. Wasn't just a shot at the Young Bucks. It's a shot at all the pigeons online who talk for them. And then all I got to say is, we don't get that from them. Like, who's going to prove you otherwise? What are we going to do? Plant little bugs, little audio bugs in their bags on their phones? I mean, there's no way to prove that shit, but that's what's going on. All right. Buddy Matthews versus Andrade yesterday was awesome. The afterward antics of the handshake and the lights going out and the House of Blacks in the ring and they attacked Andrade felt like anything you would see on a Dynamite. Not complaining, but it felt like anything you would see on a Dynamite. Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue, and with all due respect, giving Sky Blue a victory in her hometown because it feels good and it gives people this and it is that, and she's working hard and she's trying hard, but, and it's only a win, so I don't lose sleep over it. But that match against Toni Storm and Ruby Soho felt like something you would watch on Rampage. All right. The CM Punk, Jay White, Juice Robinson, FTR match, Samoa Joe. We said it last week. Juice Robinson is going to eat the pin. You could see it a foot away, not even a mile away. You could see it a foot away. Juice Robinson is the one who eats the losses when needed. The match was great. All these people fondling and fawning about, Samoa Joe, CM Punk, 17 years later, reincarnated. Lighten the fuck up. It was fun. I loved the match. I don't have this warm memories of Ring of Honor 2006. None of these people did. If they did, the building wouldn't have drawn 210 or 400 or 500. You notice 5,000 people online yesterday reminiscing about 2006, and the building only had 400 people. Match was great. But I ask you this. What storylines came out of yesterday? I know Thunder Rosa is still recovering, but not even to come out there, cut a promo, nothing, no appearance. Hobbs and Starks are in the Owen Hart tournament. I love Owen Hart. I think it's beautiful that we could celebrate Owen Hart. But it's like, we'll throw him in the tournament. They got some TV time. Felt like a Rampage. So for people to say that it was perfect, epic, the best show on TV, if that's how you felt about it, that's cool. In my opinion, it was a solid show. It was a solid show. But in this day and age, people clamor for storyline. 5-star matches are great. But if you look at the end of the day, you pay close attention to those quarter-hour ratings, especially last week. And I don't even have this stuff in front of me. I remember it by heart. Last week, the Young Bucks and Hangman Page versus the Blackpool Combat Club, which led to Kingston coming back and Moxley, having a conversation with one of the Jacksons and Takeshita showing up. That didn't even, I think it drew 699,000 viewers. 699. So there is an audience for everything. You go on Twitter, and for some reason on my feed now, recommended videos is all brawls and gross tragedies. Where the fuck did this come from? I haven't started following anybody recently. And on my feed on Twitter, I open up my feed and it's some guy that got squashed by a bus. I go on my feed and some pedophile is getting kicked to death, which, I probably deserved it. But, and then I see these brawls and I see what's going on at Wembley. A lot of people have no idea what's going on around Wembley and the uproar in the cities. And I'm like, why is this all in my feed all of a sudden? So but you go on those feeds and there's thousands of people that are watching it, thousands of the people liking it. So there's an audience for everything. But I guarantee you, if they don't start building some storylines and they do, Hobbs is in the Owen Hart tournament, this shit is going to be Rampage on steroids. Right now, it's the new car scent. Right now, it feels refreshed. It feels simpler, and that's fine. But it's got to be episodic television, not the same people. This can't be like a Love Boat sitcom. And I'm reminiscing 70s, but it can't be like, CSI or Miami Vice or the Three's Company, where every week you have the same actors on TV. Well, not really Love Boat, because you would have different actors every week, but the main people on TV every single week, but every single week is a different plot. You have to start making this a little bit episodic. Andrade getting beat up yesterday, people like, oh my God, this could lead to a trios match. And I'm like, yeah, this feels like Dynamite or Rampage. Why does this feel different? Because Andrade's back. That's awesome. Tell me why it feels different than a Dynamite or Rampage. It doesn't. It doesn't. So I enjoyed it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give the debut edition of AEW Rampage an 8.5. For the 2 hours, it was refreshing. That new car center is going to rub off very, very quickly. FTR wasn't even mentioned in CM Punk's interview with ESPN. Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, which were a big, mention, and they get thrown in the Owen Hart tournament, which doesn't happen for a couple of weeks. So honestly, the more things change, the more things stay the same. That's kind of where I'm kind of fearing about this. So those people that gave the show a little bit higher praise, that's cool. You thought it was perfect. That's cool. I thought it was a solid show. But tell me what storylines developed from there yesterday, other than Andrade getting beat up by the House of Black. What, really? What? Nothing. All right. I think I mentioned enough. Miggy Saito. He's here supporting from the Philippines. I don't know what currency Filipino funds are, but thank you very much for the 150, my friend. And thank you very much for tuning in all the way from the Philippines. Do not super chat this, but I'm very curious. What time is it right now in the Philippines? Because that's one thing that, it only might be 4:00 in the afternoon where you are. But, it's very humbling to see some people tuning in and it's like, it's 3:00 in the morning. It's 5:00 in the morning. It's 1:00 in the morning. And I'm like, shit, sometimes I don't even get up to pee when I have to at those times. If porn was on my TV, somehow my TV changed the channel on its own, I don't think I would wake up. So the fact that you're tuning in from the Philippines, I really appreciate. I appreciate even if you're a block away from my house. But I'm curious what time is it in the Philippines right now? Definitely would love to know. So Jay Paulin really enjoyed Collision last night. He hopes Jim Ross gets some rest to do it. Okay, yes. Jim Ross, I give him, the night off. He took a bad spill, everyone. I don't have the picture in front of me, but his eye was not only black and blue, it was sealed closed. Let me tell you something. He could have easily just stood home. Well, I think he was in Chicago when he took the fall, but he could have just flew back home or just stood in a hotel. I'm sure Tony Khan, the fact that he still forced himself out there, I don't think it was really about a payday. Sure, first ever episode of Collision. But Jim Ross, he sounded exhausted. He sounded like he got beat up. So we wish him well. Verse Pro says he could have died. Matt says it's 8:35 in the morning in the Philippines. That's awesome, man. Seriously. Monday morning. So I don't know if you got to get to work or get to school, But 8:30 in the morning, that's pretty cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah, Mickey says it's 8-ish right now, 8:36. But, yeah, Jim Ross, you take falls like that. You know, a lot of people remember, I don't mean to bring it up because of this, but a lot of people remember when Scott Hall fell, you know, and broke his hip. We had conversations for years leading up to it that you could fall, break a hip, and die from it. You know, it's crazy as that sounds, you know, especially when you get older. You take a spill, you know, you get, especially if your health is not all that, you know, perfect, blood clot, aneurysm, something, man, that's why you really, I mean, you hear sometimes people fall older age and they die from it. It's like, holy shit. You know, ain't no gallons of milk that you could drink that's going to strengthen your bones that much. It's crazy. And I will say this, and thank you for the 5 spot, J. Paul. Much appreciated. Thank you for that. I will say this. Nigel McGuinness and Kevin Kelly on commentary yesterday, you could tell they don't have a long history talking with each other together. I'm going to give it a pass because, no, I'm not comparing Kevin Kelly or Nigel McGuinness to Steve Mongo McMichael. But I remember back in the early days of Nitro when Mongo became a commentator. I liked Mongo as a commentator. I never liked the little dog. I mean, the dog was cute. Would wear the Mexican sombrero hats and all that stuff. It was a Chihuahua. Hey, my Chihuahua. But I tolerated Mongo, but it took a little while to get used to him. They ain't Rob Bartlett. You know what I mean? So I think you give it some time. They will blend. They will blend. Nigel McGuinness is great. Kevin Kelly, not bad. Not bad. And with Forbidden Door. And you're going to see, listen, if you didn't think that New Japan was going to be all over these shows, go check out Wednesday's preview for Dynamite. Go check out the preview for Dynamite. If that bleeds into Collision next week, Kevin Kelly will shine. He will shine. Pepe, that's right, Gruss, Pepe. Pepe was cute. I mean, I had no problem. I tell you, I'm not kidding. We used to joke back on the hotlines back then, and we thought that Mongo would give Pepe like some, not catnip, but whatever you would give for dogs to make them relax. That dog, you could have taken a balloon and popped it in front of him, and I think the dog would have just been like, I don't think the dog would have reacted. The dog would just sit there. And, you know, you think about it. Remember Cody Rhodes? Remember the pyro? And remember the uproar when Cody Rhodes was still in AEW and they did the pyro and Cody Rhodes was on the stage with the dog and everybody's like, oh, cruelty. Imagine Little Peppy. Little Peppy with WCW Nitro. His ears should have popped like a tiny little water balloon. That motherfucking dog just stood there. You know, nobody ever talked about that back in the day. Nobody ever felt bad for Pepe. Like all this pyro. WCW used to have a lot of pyro, especially when Kane would start doing, when Kane came around in WWE. Well, I think Pepe might have been gone by that time, thank God. But WCW did a lot of pyro back then. Nobody said a thing about Pepe. And the announcer's table, wasn't it still towards the back area? I think it was. Not sure. Still, he was in the building. And yeah, that was not good. Thank you, Jay Polin again. Okie dokie. Let's head on over to the chat. Let's see what everybody wants to talk about. So, guys, what do you want to talk about? Okay, yeah. All right. Wardlow. See, that, again, felt like Dynamite or Rampage. I didn't really have much of a problem with it because there's rumors that Wardlow might turn heel. There's rumors that Wardlow might rid of Arn Anderson. I don't know what they're doing with Wardlow. Wardlow dropping the championship to Luchasaurus was interesting. And I'll tell you why. Because Luchasaurus, in my opinion, and I'll use it this way. Have you noticed Wardlow suddenly doing all these high-risk aerial maneuvers? Now, Dynamite is not going to be the high-flying show, and Collision is not. No, that's not the case at all. Wardlow has changed his arsenal, and I don't understand why. Somebody that big and that powerful should be doing power moves. He was doing the powerbomb symphonies. Just imagine. All you got to do is drop 5 power bombs, and the crowd loves it. And it's like, okay, this is not bad. Now the motherfucker wants to dive like Jeff Hardy and suddenly like Sting. Like, I don't get it. I'm starting to wonder if something is going to change significantly for Wardlow. Kind of feeling that way, but I'll say this. Based on Collision yesterday, guys, Christian is awesome. Especially on the mic right now, he is gold. Some people think that Christian gets more heat than MJF does. But I ask you this. Does Luchasaurus feel like a wrestler that belongs on Collision? Or does Luchasaurus feel like a wrestler that belongs on Dynamite? He is the TNT champion. Collision is on TNT. What did I say last week? You should feature the TNT champion on TNT. And they would feature Jade Cargill as the TBS champion. It felt like on TNT instead of just TBS. To me, the TBS champion should be on TBS, period. No ifs, ands, or buts, and pay-per-views. The TNT champion should be on TNT, no ifs, ands, or buts, other than pay-per-views. Luchasaurus, unless they're going to have Miro go after Luchasaurus, or maybe Andrade, I have no idea. I'm not going to say that this is the end of Wardlow's career, that he is buried, he's done with, because honestly, they treated Hobbs worse. Remember, Hobbs got that title, and we were like, fucking finally, they are going to give Hobbs that the Jets. Remember? And we said, oh, fuck, let's see a month or two what they do. Not even a month. His vintage cutlass is being destroyed by Wardlow. And he's with QT Marshall and QTV. I almost said something else. No, not something. I know what some people are thinking. It's like Spew TV, just spewing shit. But that's not what I was going to say. But anyway, my point is they treated Hobbs worse. So what do? Make Hobbs and Wardlow a tag team? No. But something is going on with Wardlow. Maybe he's going to go in the Owen Hart tournament. I don't know. And I don't even know if that's a good idea. I will say this. If Wardlow ends up in the Owen Hart tournament, then either Wardlow, Hobbs, or Starks has got to win it. Period. But then again, if you win it, like, all right, that's nice. Corbin won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I mean, now, really, what does that do for the future? Getting an accolade under your Wikipedia is nice, but you don't feel like the company has a lot of faith. Again, AEW's biggest problem, and I've said this for the last couple of years, is that they insist on the Crackerjack surprise. Every week there's going to be a car wreck. That's why Wednesday there's going to be, a Tupelo, the concession brawl. And I love the original one with Wade Ferris, 1979, and the one with Onita. I fucking covered it on the history shows. Love it. But do I want to see Jeff Jarrett and Mark Briscoe doing it? Oh, because they paid homage to the original one. Oh, that makes it better. That means the match is going to be much better. They're going to bash each other with dippy dots. But at the end of the day, it's still Jeff Jarrett and Mark Briscoe. So every week there's got to be a car accident. Every week there's got to be a crackerjack surprise. Every week there's got to be the lights off. Every week there's got to be expect the unexpected. So it feels like they put the title on Luchasaurus because we needed a title change. And that feels like a Dynamite or a Rampage. There was a lot yesterday that felt no different than a Dynamite or a Rampage. And anybody that does not admit that, hey, maybe they just didn't feel that way, or maybe some people, just overly hyping this, to try to get the epic, amazing, unbelievable feeling inside. But I'm not as upset as Wardlow losing, but the title changing again. Really unexplained. I mean, I don't know. All right. Kevin Milwaukee says, you're listening to the Animal DTista. Some people saying vintage Don Tony. Yeah, it's just, to me, the gloves are off. You tell it like it is. It's interesting because I do criticize people. And these days, a lot of times, I don't get blocked. I don't get cursed out, because I think some people realize at the end of the day, I'm trying to be fair. I mean, it's sometimes things aren't fair. And when you try to make it appear to be fair, when you know it's not fair, that's when people get exposed for being fake. And I don't want to be fake. I'd just rather be honest. Michael Gonzalez, outside of Pretty Deadly, has the latest NXT call-ups been a failure so far? Only in the middle of June, and the draft only happened like 6 weeks ago. So we had Night of Champions, we got Money in the Bank, we got SummerSlam. Those are 3 very, very big events. And it's not easy to just have somebody fit in that quickly. Grayson Waller, if Grayson Waller wrestles right now, what is he going to do? Is he going to get victories? And who is he going to defeat? Does he feud with Austin Theory? Like if you really think about it, okay, Grayson Waller's not doing nothing but speaking segments. But then you say to yourself, okay, if they put him in the ring, who's he actually going to wrestle? Who is he going to defeat? Nobody ever thinks about that aspect of it. You can't have him beat a Hit Row member every single week. So Cameron Grimes, yeah, it feels like excessively slow. I mean, it's like the new car scent. Cameron Grimes shows up 6 weeks ago. Hey, Cameron, how does it feel to be on SmackDown? Oh, so-and-so, it feels great. I'm so excited, blah, 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 blah. And 6 weeks later, they're still asking him almost the same questions. You're still here new to SmackDown. Oh, man, shut up. So it's not that it's a failure. It's just they haven't found the right opportunity. I'll give you a good one. Odyssey Jones. Odyssey Jones. Anybody remember where Odyssey Jones got drafted to Raw? What's going on with him? I don't know of an injury. So I think they're just waiting for the right moment for some of these individuals. I don't think the draft has been a failure. I don't think the NXT call-ups have been a failure. I just think that WWE is having a hard time trying to fit them in. And honestly, I'd rather have them go slow than throw them out there and end up with no direction whatsoever. That's what happened with Xia Li. Candice LeRae, to a certain extent, that's what was happening to her, but she's got the way is back together. So that kind of repairs it a little bit. Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, they had the match with Ronda and Shayna, and they had a nice showing, and they lost, and they're going to be brought in very, very slowly. No, I don't think it's a failure. I just think that they are, in some ways, taking too much time, and in some other ways, they called them up, and they were like, now what? Now what? Now what do we do? Personally, I think Odyssey Jones has got to confront Bronson Reed. I think if Odyssey Jones confronts Bronson Reed, I think by default, two big motherfuckers like that going out in the ring, I think that spectacle in itself would get a lot of fans on the side of Odyssey Jones just like that. Okay, let's move on. 316 MMA says, per Fightful, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks won't be in Chicago for Dynamite Wednesday. They film pre-tapes, and it's likely CM Punk will be booked for that show. They're doing this blind tag team tournament. CM Punk's not going to be in it because FTR are the champs. If CM Punk is going to show up, there should be only one reason: to confront MJF. And I don't see that happening because we got Forbidden Door showing up. I'm not sure about CM Punk showing up on Dynamite. If Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are not appearing Wednesday, I don't think it's that big of a deal. There's been times that they haven't been on TV. It's not like every single week they're on TV. I mean, I'm kind of happy that they're not, because I'm kind of sick of the Blackpool Combat Club and Kenny and the Elite going at it. I mean, I thought Anarchy in the Arena was going to pretty much settle that. And if you want to go Takeshita and Omega after that, that's fine. But you knew they would continue. We said it last week because you got Forbidden Door and they needed to have a Forbidden Door member come in, and they did. You see Will Ospreay and you see others. You see what's going on. So we'll see. But I personally don't think you would want to. I wouldn't put CM Punk on Wednesday. You want to establish CM Punk only on Collision? I mean, what are you going to do? Have a group of guys? Is CM Punk going to show up on Dynamite with Andrade and Miro and Thunder Rosa and try to act like an invasion? I think for the night and for the live fans, that's epic. When you take a step back, that just sounds like a hot mess. Sounds like a hot mess. Rocky Red with a comment. There you'll be a man without a family, a Roman with no more reigns, a chief without a tribe. Cody's words are aging very well so far. Roman Reigns is on the roads back to Cody. Well, as I've been saying all along, that Roman is going to be a man on a desert island. I mean, how many times have I said it on these shows? It was funny because when CM Punk made the interview, somebody wrote to me, and I love Cornette, but somebody was like, oh, you see, Cornette was spot on all along. And I'm like, I love Cornette, but I have my videos that are 8-10 months old addressing the media and the Young Bucks and Omega and Clubber and everything else way before anybody else. But again, nobody pays attention to it. As far as Roman Reigns, Roman is going to end up being a man on a desert island all by himself. That's really where this is going. At some point, he's going to get mad at Solo Sikoa, and Solo Sikoa will probably leave him as well. And then it'll be down to himself versus Cody, one-on-one, mano-a-mano. Roman has nobody to depend on, and that's where everything ends up going. And no, I know people are trying to get momentum with this. No, Roman isn't repeatedly being betrayed. It is a viewpoint with video that's trying to go viral, that they show Seth Rollins chair bashing Roman Reigns, betrayal, the Shield. Then it shows Sami Zayn chair bashing Roman Reigns, betrayed. Then it shows Jimmy Uso super kicking Roman, betrayed. Now it's Jey Uso, and they're trying to paint this narrative that the real storyline is Roman Reigns betrayed repeatedly. What Seth did in storyline to Roman has nothing to do with this current storyline. Roman Reigns thinks he is the Godfather. Roman Reigns thinks that he is the one that dictates everything, and he's telling people what to do, and he's using his family for power. The power went to his head, and that's the storyline, period. Just people have to make these whacked out conspiracy theories that Roman is the one being betrayed. Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. And Roman negotiating his contract where he rarely has to defend the championship. Oh, yeah, no, WWE betrayed him there. They talked him into, hey, listen, you only have to defend it every 6 months, once every 3 months. Yeah, that's cool with me. And then what's the storyline later on? Oh, yeah, they tell me I couldn't. I know that's not going to happen, but it's just, when you start thinking about it, it's just people like, hey, everybody, this is going to go viral. This is really blue. This is really blue, everyone. This is really blue. Taking a sip of my bulletproof coffee. Oh, if anybody's on keto, ever went on keto, I had a disaster yesterday. Yesterday, I had a beautiful arugula salad with goat cheese, and it had a couple other things in it. I didn't realize that the restaurant put a whole bunch of lemon balsamic vinegar in it, which has tons of sugar. I ate the salad yesterday, and if you remember Beavis and Butthead, when Beavis would have sugar, and then it would get to the point, I got to take my glass off of this, it would get to the point where Beavis would just uncontrollably have sugar and be like, that's what happened to me yesterday with water. I drank 4 liters of water last night in about 3 hours. We went to my wife's parents' house today, celebrate her dad's Father's Day because my father's in Florida right now. I peed 7 times at their house. I drank about 10 pounds of water last night because the sugar knocked me out of ketosis and my body was like, had all these carbohydrates and was craving water. I couldn't stop drinking water yesterday. All right. Benjamin is asking, is Ilya Dragunov at risk of being conscripted into the Russian military? Nah. His name is an awesome name. And I said a long time ago, put Ilya with Ludwig Kaiser and put Giovanni Vinci somewhere else. Ilya Dragunov just sounds like a member of Imperium. Giovanni Vinci is European, Italian. At the end of the day, Giovanni Vinci, it just doesn't fit. They're great. Imperium is awesome. But I always felt Ilya was a better suited person with Imperium. But no, Ilya Dragunov, oh my God. He is this close of my favorite wrestler in NXT. That match that he had with Dijak, his arm and the way he writhes in pain, when you are watching it at home and you feel uncomfortable, and I have watched a lot of wrestling since 79, the only mainstream match since 1979, the only mainstream match that I will not watch to this day is the I Quit match with Mick Foley versus The Rock. I can't watch it. When I watched Beyond the Mat and they showed his wife, Mick Foley's wife and his kids, and they're playing Stand By Me, and I got so uncomfortable, and knowing that Mick Foley's head got split open the way it did, I can't watch that match. The chair shots, and believe me, I got hit with enough chair shots with the indie wrestling crap, and I always thought they were cool, but it was uncomfortable. When you watch Ilya and the way he expresses pain, it comes across your TV. It gets to the point where you almost feel uncomfortable. Like, this is just too hard to watch. That's when you know this guy's got something. That guy is special. Ilya Dragunov is a special, special wrestler. He is going to do well in WWE. My only concern is his size. He is not as small as you think. Yeah, everybody thought JD McDonough was a shrimp. Go watch again the segment with JD McDonough and Finn Balor. I guarantee you JD McDonough was not wearing Rhea Ripley's fucking giant boots that she wears outside of wrestling. They're not as short as you think. But Ilya, they got to do something. I don't know how he acclimates to the main roster. But JD McDonough is great. Ilya, I like that much more. Ilya is fucking spectacular. I'm happy that Ilya is not on the main roster right now because I don't know what you would do with him. I have no idea what you do with him right now. Moist Ham. I love the name. Moist Ham. That is a cool name. Moist Ham wants to know, which network would I like to see WWE on in the future? USA Network I'm fine with. And I'll tell you why. I've said this before, and I'm not going to give a lecture. But when everybody reported last year that WWE was going to go TV 14, remember, breaking news, WWE tonight is back to TV 14. I went on my show the day before when they announced that. I think it was on a Saturday that broke. I went on my show and I said, that makes no sense because these advertisers that buy advertising for the USA Network, they have to sign off on this. The USA Network has to sign off on this. Not only that, investors need to be made aware of it because one of the things about investors is they knew that since WWE was trying to be more, like family-friendly programming to a certain extent, PG, that, that's one of the attractions for investors. Like, they're not going to suddenly start going Moxley in all these matches and having, blood, guts, and everything else. I know, I love the hardcore shit, but it didn't make sense. And then Monday came, and I'll never forget it. I watched in the corner TV PG, and I saw the big V for violence. That's all it was, the big V. And I was like, oh, how cute. What is it? And oh no, it's going to be next week. And it's just like Alexa Bliss. Remember Alexa Bliss when she was in her dressing room and the guy's like, Alexa, here's your coffee. Your segment's next. And he opens the door and she's got her hands over her tits. And everybody was like, TV 14 is back. No, it's not, Nimrods. So the reason why I say USA Network for Raw is because once TKO Incorporated begins, once the TV deals are done again, in the future, when you negotiate advertising space, now you're dealing with Endeavor. And Endeavor's programming is not necessarily for children. And if Endeavor feels like, hey, we'll let WWE bleed. It's not that the wrestlers are like, no, I signed my contract. I'm not bleeding. This is what WWE's always been. No, it's what Endeavor and WWE negotiate to do. Why do you think Nick Khan started planting the seed about the third hour of Raw possibly going TV 14? Because once Endeavor is officially in, things change. Advertisers change. USA Network has had Temptation Island. Imagine this, and a lot of you know this is true. You'd watch an episode of Raw, you would hear the crowd going, asshole, asshole, but you would hear this. Sorry, I got to move over. Hole. I think I was pausing it the wrong way. You know what I mean? You would have heard hole, like they would block out air. And then 30 seconds later, you see a commercial for Temptation Island. And this guy's like, hey, I don't know which person I'm going to sleep with tonight. Oh, you see, I begged her. I'm going to slap her ass. Temptation Island actually had expletives in their commercials. They didn't, you literally hear WWE getting censored. And then 30 seconds later, next on Temptation Island, oh, did you sleep with Joshua? Yeah, well, you know what? His penis was kind of small. I'm going to actually have to tell him that I'm going to bag so-and-so tonight instead. And I'm like, why is this being said? Because it's the advertisers. It's the advertisers. Look at and see, if you ever taped editions of Temptation Island, go back and watch the commercials for Temptation Island, then watch the commercials for WWE. And in a lot of cases, different ads. Because the people that bought ad space for Temptation Island was more willing to have that adult-oriented content. USA Network would welcome more adult-oriented content as long as it's obviously set up that way. Fox for SmackDown. I can't complain about Fox on SmackDown because there are more households. It's more available. And SmackDown's been good. I've always said this. Wrestling does not have to be TV 14 to be good. Especially when I grew up in the 80s and I think about Piper and I think about others. And I'm like, yeah, maybe The Garden, it was TV 14, but on TV, when I watched it every week, it was pretty tame. So I can't complain about Fox. I personally think keep them where they are. Keep them where they are. I just wish Raw was 2 hours instead of 3. That third hour is kind of brutal. I wouldn't mind Raw 9 to 11. I would not mind Raw 9 to 11. Obviously, 8 to 10. If they went 2 hours, they got to go 8 to 10. Because it is a proven fact. We talk about it every single week. It is a proven fact that third hour of Raw, unless something amazing is planned and advertised, people nod out. You start off Raw with 2.4 million viewers, and by the third hour, main event, it's 1.6 million viewers. They have hundreds of thousands of people that just, and it's funny because they don't fall asleep. Notice that, they don't just fall asleep. If you fall asleep and the show's still on, your Nielsen rating counts. These people are in hundreds of thousands are either changing the channel or turning the TV off at a certain time. And it's pretty interesting because the demo is in the 50s. How many of you know any 17-year-olds have a Nielsen box? Most of the people have Nielsen boxes, have had them for a very long time. So they might have been in their college days look, guys, I got a Nielsen box. Now it's honey, I got to pay my AARP bill. The Nielsen box, dust that off. These people are old now. And they're still turning the TV off or changing the channel. So, all right. Kevin says, if you take the very best of AM radio, you mix it with pro wrestling, inside humor, participation with the audience, and the separation of truth and lies, you have the Don Tony Show. I appreciate that. I regret not doing radio back in 2006. I had the opportunity of doing real radio. And the reason why we didn't do it was because we were off for Tuesday night. And we always did the shows Monday night. And it would have been really hard to recreate that spur of the moment commentary when you just had it the day before. So that was a problem. Then my co-host at the time, transportation was a problem. Getting everybody all at the radio station was a problem. So that was another issue. Then they were willing to have us record a show and send a tape. And they would play the tape the next day. But it had to be censored. Which means that, yeah, did you see that Kurt Angle? That's what, they didn't even want it censored. They just wanted a clean show. I remember Kevin and Joey 924 and even me. I was like, I ain't fucking doing that. If I want to curse about something, I'm going to curse. So we didn't do it. We didn't do it. So, believe me, could you imagine tuning into 89.1 FM? Oh, you're listening to the Minority Report with Kevin Castle, Don Tony, Joey 924, Black Moses, Smoked Out. And here they are. Hey, did you check out SmackDown last night? What'd you think about that? What they did with Tori Wilson and Al Wilson? Oh, I got to be honest with you. But at least her looked pretty nice, and they got it. Wasn't going to work. Trust me, I don't like 3-hour shows. That's why pay-per-views, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, good enough for me, man. If you get a solid 2.5 hour pay-per-view, I don't understand why anybody would complain. I think Money in the Bank is probably going to only be 6 or 7 matches. That's very manageable. Money in the Bank matches would probably go 20 minutes, but still, 6 matches, very manageable. Fine with me. All right, what time we got? We're at 65 minutes. So let's start bringing this home. Not immediately, but let's start bringing it home. Oh, we have a super alert. I should have put that out there. Super shout outs. A little magic little thing. Eric Williams with a $4.99 spot. Thank you, Eric. Who do I believe are the real needle movers in pro wrestling? This day and age, it is a combined effort. The Bloodline storyline by far is needle movers. For house shows, Cody Rhodes is a needle mover. Seth Rollins is a needle mover. On Monday Night Raw, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Judgment Day, they are needle movers. Problem is, no one individual is a needle mover. Last year, when Cody Rhodes made his WWE return and showed up at WrestleMania, yeah, he got injured not too long after that and had to take time off in his infamous match with Seth Rollins. But what I do remember is people paying very close attention to the ratings, and within 2 weeks. See, you couldn't factor it right away because Cody showed up at WrestleMania. And then you had the night after WrestleMania, which is an inflated number. Then you had the week after WrestleMania, which is still a little inflated, but by 3 weeks later, Cody Rhodes did not have any bump as far as the ratings were. And AEW, not a lot of fans, but in, you know, the radical ones, there's radical on both sides, but the radical ones were like, oh, you see, look, the ratings are right back to where they were. They didn't even need Cody. What a waste of money. That's bullshit. No, it's a collective effort. It's a collective effort. So right now, you don't have that many individual people where it's must-see TV because they are on. Cody Rhodes is the most over guy right now, without a doubt. But when you look at it, you know, and Seth Rollins, the crowd will serenade him for 45 minutes if they're allowed to. But at the end of the day, there isn't one person, you know, that's really the needle mover. Yeah, you'll get individual people that'll say, I drove 975 miles to see Seth Rollins. Seth, hold me. You know, that's a rare exception, but that doesn't mean that people that are going, I'm sure they're all like, oh, we're going to see Seth Rollins. That's awesome. We're going to see Cody. That's awesome. Oh, yeah, the Judgment Day kick ass. It's a combined effort. So right now, really, the only needle movers are an individual is probably Roman Reigns, the Bloodline storyline. Because you just advertise that and you got hundreds of thousands of people that will tune in to see it. Everything else, it's a combined effort. Even with AEW. With AEW, they had a little bit of with CM Punk yesterday, but we don't even know what the rating is going to be yet. And that rating is going to not come out, I think, until Tuesday because tomorrow is Juneteenth. So the rating is not going to come out till Tuesday. My original ratings prediction was 840,000 viewers. Now, I think Saturday, I went into the sevens. And I don't think that's a bad number. But again, CM Punk right now, a little needle mover. Where there's that a month from now, 2 months from now. That's why they need to build storyline. You know, if you're not going to do anything with the Young Bucks, yesterday was great, but it was a house show. It's like, oh, we all went home happy. FTR and CM Punk beat Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Samoa Joe. We all went home happy. Where does it go from here? Yeah, CM Punk is holding the bag. All right, I'm the real world champion. But unless they're going to start that feud with MJF, you know, we need a storyline for CM Punk. And believe me, with all due respect, I don't want Kenta or Tanahashi or Shimoshi or Shinobi to show up and say, I want Punk bag. I don't give a shit. I want a good feud storyline, somebody that I watch on a weekly basis, not because it's Forbidden Door season. MJF versus Punk. Yeah, that would be pretty fucking good. That would be pretty good, man. That could very well be your Wembley match. MJF versus CM Punk, title for title. Yeah. I'm in. I'm all in for that. Pasquale Maggiore. I love the name. Mi amigo with a 5 spot. Thank you, Pasquale. DT would love to hear more USA Pro Wrestling Mass Maniac stories. Keep up the great work. Given a Mass Maniac story random, wow, that's not easy. I'll give you one. I've only told this story once in all these years. And trust me, if all of you out there, if there's a lot of you that don't know what a Mass Maniac is, you'll love this story anyway. The Mass Maniac, Frank Goodman, was the promoter of USA Pro Wrestling, which later became UXW Wrestling. And he's still on Twitter, Mass Maniac XXX. If I'm exaggerating, play this for him. He will tell you, no, he's not lying. He and I went partners on a bunch of wrestling shows. And I made money. I made decent money. The thing is that you got to lay out money to make money. And when we had the last ever show at the Elks Lodge, that night where the Triple Threat reformed, and you had Low-Key versus Sanjay Dutt, which is one of the greatest matches in indie wrestling history. And, you know, we had so much good shit that night. I made a lot of money. There was one show that we didn't make much money, and I had to give, I don't remember how much money it was. It was probably a couple of $1,000. And I had to give Maniac this money, and I didn't have it. And the Mass Maniac was calling me up on my cell phone. He's like, you know, I need the money. I need the money. I need the money. I need the money. And I didn't answer his call. I'm home. Mass Maniac used to live in Forest Hills, Queens. I lived in Middle Village. No, I was in Howard Beach at the time. So I'm home. And then in the afternoon, one day, I happen to be home and my doorbell rings. And I usually just answer the door, but the way the person rang the bell, it wasn't just like, all right, I'm sorry, pretend this is a doorbell. It wasn't like, you know, and just waiting for the person to answer. No, it was like this. And I was like, okay, that's not Postman and it's not UPS. I look in the corner of my window and it's the Mass Maniac. Went to my house looking for the money. I turned my lights off and I hid underneath my air conditioner in the living room. And he just stood there and stood there and stood there. And I couldn't look because, you know, I mean, in the daytime, even if I have the lights off, you know, my big body is going to be a shadow in the blinds. So I just stood down there, and every like 30 seconds, the doorbell would ring and ring and ring. And I had my window open. I'm listening. And I think he rang somebody else's bell and was like, you know, is Anthony home or something like that? He finally left after about 20 minutes. And yeah, I did give him the money. I mean, we settled that. But yeah, he showed up at my house and would not leave until I answered the door. He wanted his money. It was pretty funny. And again, if anybody wants to go ask him, Mass Maniac XXX, he's on Twitter. Showed up at my house. And yeah, I wouldn't answer the door. So I got to think about it. I'll give you a good one next week. I'll think about it during the week. There's definitely some good ones that I'm not thinking about right now that I have to think about. So Gruss is saying, who do I see winning Money in the Bank? He's thinking Logan Paul and Charlotte Flair. I talked about this Saturday. Again, if you all check out Saturday's show, I don't want Logan Paul in the Money in the Bank. I want someone who is on TV every week to win the briefcase. What I fear Logan Paul winning that briefcase is that the briefcase, yeah, if it disappears for a month, people are like, good, it's not on my TV. But still, I don't want Logan Paul doing what's his Paulful podcast? What is it called? Paulful? Not awful. It's Paul. What's the name of his podcast? I don't tune into it. Somebody in the chat. Impulsive. Did I say Paulful? Like instead of awful, Paulful. That you should come up with that. Hey Logan, I just gave you a name for a podcast. Impulsive. I don't want him on his Impulsive and he's got the briefcase sitting on his table. And then, like I said Saturday, that, oh, the briefcase missing. What happened to the briefcase? And then we got Julio Iglesias, whatever that guy's name is, the chubby guy, the Spanish guy that loves wrestling, that's an actor. Iglesias, his name is, or whatever, Tavares. I don't want him to show up on a Twitter video. Hey, look, Logan, I got the briefcase. What are you going to do about it? Ha ha. Gabriel Iglesias, thank you. I don't want to see that. That's like the 24/7 title in the shape of a briefcase. I want someone, and honestly, even though I'm rooting for Damian Priest, I think LA Knight is better suited for it. Because I could picture LA Knight walking to the ring holding that briefcase every time. I think Damian Priest walking to the ring holding that briefcase looks kind of goofy. Unless he like tricks it out a little bit and puts a little purple and maybe a little leather and like hypes it up a little bit. Think about it. Imagine Damian Priest walking to the ring to the Judgment Day music slowly and he's holding a green briefcase. Fluffy, yeah, fluffy. Hey, Logan, I got the briefcase. What are you going to do about it? Ah, Chochawina. Yeah. I don't want to see that. No, I don't want to see Logan Paul winning it. All my Puerto Ricans just disconnected, by the way. I'm not kidding. About 20% of the people just disconnected. Can't take a little humor. Gabriel, the Iglesias family just disconnected. Should I do it again? I don't have a briefcase here. I have like 6 Money in Bank briefcases in my office. I kid you not. I got a whole bunch of them a couple of years ago. WWE offered me like 10 of them for like $30 a clip. I was like, yeah, I'll take them. And I think I even have the gold one. I think the gold one they don't make anymore. I have like 10. Well, I have like 6 of them still because I gave a few away. And 2 I gave away to people that I should have cut my hands off before taping the shipping label on the thing. Right. LA Knight looks perfect walking down with that briefcase. You could see him walking out there, cutting a promo and teasing that he's going to cash it in. He fits the gimmick a little bit more. That's why I think LA Knight's getting it. And I'm rooting for Damian Priest, but I close my eyes. And believe me, this is more than you realize. You close your eyes and picture Damian Priest walking down to the ring with that music. And he's walking slowly with the Judgment Day, and he's got that briefcase. Even if Finn Balor is like looking at it like, you cocksucker, you got the briefcase. Because Balor ain't winning the championship. It doesn't fit him. LA Knight it fits. Gruss says they were selling those briefcases $300 a pop. I'm not kidding. $30 a piece. They said 10 for $299. I said, absolutely. And I'll shoot video tomorrow when I'm in my, I'm going in tomorrow, even though it's Juneteenth. I have to take a couple of payments from people, but I'll even shoot some video. I still got them. Got to give one away. Maybe we'll give one away. Maybe we'll do that instead of like a cash prize for the Money in the Bank contest. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Blah, blah, blah. Let's wrap this up. Let's finish in 11 minutes. We're at an hour and 18. Let's go an hour and 30. Let's finish this up. A lot of people rooting for LA Knight to win it. See, you know why I don't have much of a problem with LA Knight winning it? I'm big on LA Knight. But as you see on TV, he has no momentum. Yeah, he's got no momentum. Crowd wants him to have the momentum, but WWE hasn't given it to him. Now he's got the briefcase. Instant momentum. Instant momentum. Hopefully they don't go the Austin Theory route. Austin Theory was 3 wins and 30 losses with that briefcase. He mirrored Carmella's run. Remember Carmella's record run with the briefcase? She was 2 wins and 30 losses. I might be off by 1 win, but Austin Theory's record was almost identical to Carmella's. That as soon as they got the briefcase, they just lost almost every match. That's why that night that he lost the briefcase, I said, thank God, best thing that could happen to him. And we ended up being right. LA Knight, though, I don't think they would do that with LA Knight. I think LA Knight, that'll enhance him. I think it'll enhance him. And you know what? The fact that so many people want to see him win it, that should tell you something. Because if the briefcase was so horrible, why wouldn't people say, Oh, I don't want him to win that. Look what they fucking did with Carmelo. Look what they did with Austin Theory. I don't want to fucking see him doing that. I don't want him to win it. Let fucking blah, 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 blah win it. Let Top Dollar win it. And by the way, the rumor going around, not a rumor, but the news going around that Top Dollar is not very liked in the locker room. Where did that come from? The last time Hit Row was released and then they were brought back, he did an interview and said that he didn't get along with some people in the locker room. So because they're losing so much right now, some genius out there looked at old reports where Top Dollar said that he didn't really get along with some people in the locker room and is assuming that it's happening again. So if you see that Top Dollar might have heat, that's where it came from. Sorry, I just killed a rumor, but we have to do that. Byron Cutler says, DT, it's too predictable. Sometimes wrestling should be predictable. Sometimes you definitely want, thank you, Pasquale, again. Sometimes you want it to be predictable. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn main eventing WrestleMania Night 1 and winning tag titles, that was very predictable, but it was necessary. The Usos turning on the Bloodline, that was predictable, but it was necessary. It's necessary for the advancement in the storylines. Cody Rhodes ultimately overcoming Brock Lesnar is predictable, but it's necessary. Cody Rhodes winning the title from Roman Reigns and not Seth Rollins is predictable, but it is necessary. Sometimes wrestling needs to be predictable. The problem is that when it doesn't happen when we want it to happen, or if it's not scheduled to happen for a while, people get impatient and then they start coming up with alternatives. And that's why you see, oh, no, Solo Sikoa is going to beat Roman for the title and not Cody Rhodes. What planet? What, Planet Samoa? That's going to happen? Like, that's not happening. You know, oh, Jey Uso. And trust me, I think Jey Uso's got to do movies. He's so good at what he does. Oh, they're positioning Jey Uso to beat Roman Reigns. Are you kidding me? You think Jey Uso is going to be the cornerstone for the WWE? He's awesome at what he does. You don't inflate him to that level. Not now. If you want to split the championships down the line, which would be kind of complicated since Seth has one. But when things don't happen right away, it creeps into people's minds that something different is going to happen. And that's why you had Sami Zayn's going to win the World Heavyweight Championship and Solo Sikoa is going to dethrone Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes would ultimately beat Seth Rollins, you know, and none of that is happening. So DNA says, how does what I said actually debunk that Top Dollar has heat backstage? He sees my argument, but he just doesn't think it's necessary. I'll tell you why. Because all of the websites are saying he reportedly has heat. Instead of getting the answer, whether he does or he doesn't, he reportedly has heat. And that's based on Top Dollar losing on TV. If he has heat, I wouldn't be saying anything that I would be saying right now. But the websites use very, very cute words. Top Dollar reportedly has heat backstage, and that is why they're being dropped out. Reportedly. Why is it that these same journalists will, on occasion, say, my sources, wrestlers within AEW, wrestlers within WWE tell me that they are totally against Vince McMahon showing up. But when it's someone else, it's reportedly, possibly, likely. That means you don't fucking know, Lee. And instead of getting the answers before putting it out there, they see Hit Row getting jobbed out on TV. And they find that in October of 2022, Top Dollar does interviews and said he was a heat magnet. He was a heat magnet. Go Google it. Top Dollar heat magnet. He said that last year. So some genius says, oh, Hit Row, buried. Top Dollar, heat magnet. He's likely still getting heat. So let me put it out there. How's about getting the fucking answer? instead of making this guy's career even harder? That's my answer to it. If they don't use the word reportedly, that's fine. People within WWE have heat. Apparently, see, there you go with the LY. I even did it now. Stupid, meaning me. Just say people within WWE have heat with Top Dollar. Top Dollar has a track record of being a heat magnet. Top Dollar has heat within WWE once again, but instead, he reportedly has heat. That means you don't fucking know, but you still put it out there anyway. That's why I say what I said. And DNA, thank you for the 2-spot. Shouts to DT for not only reading Super Chats. No, I'll talk to anybody. Yeah, I will never, listen, I wanted to go subscription-based because, time's hard financially. But I don't think people out there should be paying all my bills. I watched a guy with a YouTube channel that has 600,000 subscribers. Somebody stole his camera equipment. The guy has 600,000 subscribers, makes $15,000 a month on YouTube. What does he do? He goes and sets up a GoFundMe for $20,000 to make up for his camera stuff. Instead of just saying, wow, somebody stole my cameras, I got to be a little bit more careful. Or guess what? Let me buy insurance. And you charge it, you write, no, let me have all my viewers pay for it. And they did. And guess what? He did a GoFundMe for $20,000. The GoFundMe right now is up to $26,000. You think he would have ended the GoFundMe and say, thanks, guys. I got the money for the camera equipment. That's $6,000. That's over. Let me put it to charity or let me put it for something else. No, the GoFundMe is still going. It's still going. Now, if people want to give him money, go right ahead. But I think that's kind of fucked up. So I decided, look, if people want to contribute financially here, because this shit ain't free and it's a lot more than you think, that's awesome. And I always want to give a little bit in return, whether it's extra content or, a special shout out, spend a little bit extra time on what they ask. I think that's the least that I can do. But I will never, ever require someone, for channel members here, they get some extra content, but that extra content is available on DonTony.com. It's audio version, but you'll be able to get it somewhere. The only show that I do that is not available publicly for everybody is the show I do every Tuesday on Patreon. And the only reason why is because people on Patreon are a very important aspect of, me still doing this stuff. Kev as well. I divide everything with Kevin over there. That's why I don't put DTKC shows on YouTube. It's not fair to Kevin because Kevin's not part of this channel. It's not that he can't be part of this channel, but he's not part of this channel. And financially, how do you start factoring that in? And I don't want Kevin to ever feel that he's being used just for, no. That's why it gets a little complicated, but I appreciate what you said. That's why we do these on Sunday. That's why we do the Q&As also. The Q&As, if somebody's a channel member, I might answer their question before someone else's. It's not being a jerk, but, always want to give a little extra back. So, all right. Listen, as far as Hit Row goes, I don't know if he has heat or not, but I will say this. The problem with Hit Row, and again, I'm a fan of Hit Row. I like Top Dollar. I don't say this to get a thank you from him or anything like that, but I say this. The problem with Hit Row is they're too deep with their characters. And what I mean by that was, and I brought this up before, and this is not a black or a white thing. Believe me, it's not. But you look at, I'm sorry about my hat. I had to fix it. My hat. My hair. Here's the thing with Hit Row. When they were baby faces, do you remember the night when they first came back and they did that rap? It sounded militant. They sounded angry. Remember Rowdy, Rowdy, Bowdy, Bowdy? They sounded angry, and it sounded way too deep. Like, if you're going to do hip hop as a WWE character, it's got to be like R-Truth. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Or throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like Don Tony and you know, your ass is bare, everybody say, oh, you got to like, there's a lot of kids in that audience. It's a lot of family in that audience, more than you think. And they're acting out there. And like, just listen to that rap when they were there live. They were sounded angry and militant. Little kids are sitting there like, you got to do catchy, goofy, easy listening. You know, even Public Enemy back at the time. Na 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 na. That's what it was. It wasn't like really hardcore militant stuff. So when they turn heel, And what do? They fucking put ski masks over their heads. I know what they're trying to do, but for the casual WWE viewer and family, it's too much, and it's not clicking. That's what it is. They got to be almost like 90s character. I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you're going to play a character like that, you got to keep it simple, man. You got to keep it simple. The people that get a little overly creative and try a little too hard, that's why I think Karrion Kross's character, I think now, seriously, I think right now, the last 2 weeks have been perfect for Kross and Scarlett. They're trying too hard. Tarot cards, really deep with the promos about the tarot cards and this and that. And just simple, especially younger fans, they're like, they don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, Mommy, I thought the card had a heart and a diamond and a club and a spade on it. Why? You know, it's too much. It's too complicated. Sometimes simple is easier. You see, even like with some of the most beloved younger characters now, a lot of the characters are very simple. You look at Riddle. When Riddle got over, Riddle sounded like a beach bum, you know, riding the fucking scooter, and people thought he was stoned all the time. It was just simple. Yo, dude, I want to be a member of New Day. Dude. You know, like, it was simple, and you kind of could click to it. The WWE audience is not that deep, and that's why I think Hit Row is not clicking, and I think that's why part of what Karrion Kross was doing is not clicking. The last 2 weeks, fuck the tarot cards. Just go out there and just, you know, Scarlett, be a threat. Kross, just do what he does. He's got the look. He could be methodical. You don't need no fucking cards. The reason why they use the tarot cards, here, Kevin Dunn with the Vokti. Hey, boss, how do we get Karrion Kross to feud with AJ Styles? How do we build that story? I don't know, Kevin. How do we do that? Well, I have an idea. He could have tarot cards. And look, he pulled Rey Mysterio. And, oh, Rey, it's your time. I like it. Well, how do we get him to AJ Styles then? AJ doesn't have anything to do with Rey. Well, next week he could pull AJ Styles out of the book, out of the deck. Oh, now we want to do, I don't know, Austin Theory. Pull a card. It's stupid. It sucks. And I want to see Karrion Kross fucking go to the top. The tarot cards suck. Basically what you're saying is we can't figure out how to do a good storyline, so we'll just pull somebody random out of that. You want to do the tarot cards and you want to do it good, let fucking Karrion Kross pull a card, take it out, and he looks at it with his eyes white as ghost and throws it on the floor or on the table, and when you look down, you see Karrion Kross on the card. And he's not going to go out in the ring and go beat himself up. But yeah, let him pull his own card, the own death card, and you get rid of those tarot cards. I think that's how you fix Hit Row, and that's how you fix Karrion Kross. The helmet stuff, I tried to justify that. I went back to the Demolition days with I tried to make it, I tried my hardest. I mean, at the end of the day, it did not fit him. It was goofy. It was goofy. Like, if he was in the Roman Empire, they would have fed him to the lions. Seriously. It didn't work. I tried to make it, I tried to convince myself, like, hey, you know, maybe if they kind of go Warlord, a little Demolition, this and that. But it's like, you know, it just didn't work. Not purple helmet, red helmet, burgundy helmet, whatever the fucking color the helmet was. It was just awful. I know my forehead is red now. If you see it red, it feels red. I'm going to finish the show, go inside, and my wife's like, what did you do? You beat yourself up again? All right. Let's get out of here. 2 more questions, and we'll be gone. The thing with LA Knight, it's funny. I was looking at it the other day. I still have one of his Max Dupree autograph photos. I don't know if I have it here, but no, I still got Butch. I still got Butch photos. They're real. They're PSA authenticated. I got a couple of Butch photos. I got Butch signed cards. I have Max Dupree somewhere. But I actually always, when I saw the Max Dupree character, it felt like an 80s character. You know, like, if you remember, like, the 80s look, like, he looked like somebody that would have been on, like, a B-rated show, like, from the 80s. But it didn't fit him, man. It didn't create his persona. It was too, you know, sophisticated. You know, LA Knight is not sophisticated. LA Knight is a tough, you know, wise-ass son of a bitch. And that's why it works. Kappa the Great. Was CM Punk's promo last night a work shoot? Do I expect the Bucks to respond Wednesday? You know, the Bucks have responded. If you remember, they were taking shots at Punk a couple of months ago during some matches. They hit, actually, I think it was when they returned with Kenny Omega. They were taking shots. Do I think they take shots Wednesday? I don't think so. They'll probably like do some innuendos on their BTE show. And I'm sure through journalists, you'll see something negative come out eventually, something negative. You know, right now, and let me make this clear. Right now, the reason why no one is contesting this is because there's a lot of people that witnessed it yesterday backstage. The climate backstage after Collision was extremely positive. Everybody was happy and satisfied how the show came off. You had a lot of producers, some people who are new that we talked about recently. You had the wrestlers and you had, you know, other people that were there. There were too many people there that saw that everything really worked well. So you're not going to get your Wade Kellers and your others this time around that are going to say, you know, the climate backstage was very, very uneasy. And there were people who were kind of like, the feeling was mixed about CM Punk's return because they know that there's about 50 people that will call them out on their lie. And the funny thing is, a lot of people that were on the show yesterday will have the balls to call them out on their lie. See, that's the thing about Collision. You have that roster filled with people that will say it themselves, you're a liar. On Wednesdays, they need a journalist to do it. So I'm not sure if the Young Bucks, I'm sure they'll make some indirect joke or something visual will take a mock at it. You know, they might make fun of a dog. They might do something. The Young Bucks have done that many times. Does it happen Wednesday? I don't know. We're right before Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door is in 1 week. I think right now, get Forbidden Door out of the way. Then if you want to fuck with people, you can. But won't surprise me. All right. Last question. Guardian of Chaos. Good way to close it out. Will WWE ever reconsider on Jacob Fatu coming in on the Bloodline feud? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I like Jacob Fatu, but to me, I think he's too, his physique is too impressive. Like, he's too big. And I don't mean that. What I mean by that is, and I think I've mentioned this in some way before. I think I mentioned this on Patreon. With Jacob Fatu, you see, like when Solo Sikoa was brought up to the main roster, Solo Sikoa is similar in size to the Usos. So he doesn't stand out. He's got a little bit of a different look. He still fights barefoot. And, he's got, his hair's a little bit different. But Solo Sikoa is in line with the Usos. Roman is the physical specimen that stands out. You put Jacob Fatu alongside all members of the Bloodline. Jacob Fatu's physique is, similar to Roman Reigns, if not even maybe a little bit bigger. And I think the problem is that with that Bloodline storyline, you need one person that has that presence. And everybody else has to fit in as far as pieces. I think Jacob Fatu would stand out a little bit too much. I honestly feel that way. And the reason why Solo Sikoa comes across as the most intimidating is because the way they built up his character. He was silent, the Samoan Spike. He was, the enforcer. That's the character they built. So everybody bought into it. And he does it great. If you look at the early days of NXT, this is not the Solo Sikoa from NXT. Not even near it. But this works. Jacob Fatu, I've tried to envision him with the Bloodline. I don't see it. Maybe now with the Usos breaking out of it, you could have Jacob Fatu team up with Solo Sikoa. But I think in the end, you could have Roman Reigns on a desert island all by himself. Adding members makes that much more complicated. If it's not broken, don't fix it. That's why I never felt Naomi was going to be added to it. Just like I never felt that Tamina was going to be added to it. People tried so hard to make it Naomi's got to be a member. And it's not a sexist remark, but I'm like, why? Why? At the end of the day, why? Why? And who does she go up against? Who does she go up against? She's just going to stand there like a neon plant? No. So, it's a nice idea, but when you start thinking about developing it, I don't see it. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I definitely did. Had some fun conversations today. Let me know what you think about some of the things I said. Where am I wrong? Whether it's my thoughts on Collision from last night, the CM Punk stuff, Cross, Hit Row, whatever we talked about, let me know afterwards. I got to get out of here because we're almost at 10 o'clock. I got to edit, put this online, type up a synopsis. This show, you got to put a synopsis, especially because, it's all Q&A. But I'll get this online for everybody. And thank you for joining me as always. Don't forget, Monday night after Raw, I will be here for your Raw post show. Trish Stratus versus Raquel Rodriguez for the last spot, Money in the Bank. We'll see where that goes. Logan Paul will be making his return. I wonder if Logan Paul challenges Seth Rollins tomorrow. I probably won't happen because you kind of feel like there should be a buildup for that. But I'm curious to see who challenges him tomorrow. Maybe Dominic Mysterio. Maybe Dominic Mysterio challenges Seth Rollins tomorrow. I could see that happening. I'm probably wrong, but I could see that happen. Hey, maybe they could bring in, what did we say earlier? Shit. I forgot his name already. Who's the guy from NXT that we just talked about? I said earlier. Somebody bail me out before I jet out of here, or I'm going to bail myself out. Who's the guy we said earlier would go up against Bronson Reed? Holy shit, I just drew a brain fart. All right, does anybody remember? I'm going to remember. What, A, B, C, D, E, F, G? I can't remember. Well, we'll log on. Oh, Odyssey Jones. I remembered. Maybe Odyssey Jones will show up, and people be like, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Maybe Jada McDonough. We'll see. Good night.
It's now time.
No, it's not now time. Jesus, what the hell? Okay, now it's time.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.